Winter Storm Fern, a catastrophic weather event across the United States. Date, January 25, 2026. As of January 25, 2026, the United States is enduring one of the most severe winter storms in recent history, impacting nearly 200 million Americans and prompting widespread emergency declarations in at least 16 states. Dubbed catastrophic by meteorologists, this storm brings with it heavy snowfall, freezing rain, and dangerously low temperatures, resulting in significant disruptions to transportation networks and widespread power outages. Timeline of events. January 23, 2026, the storm begins its slow advance across the central and western United States, with heavy snow and freezing rain reported in areas like New Mexico and Texas. As residents prepare for the impending harsh weather, supermarkets are emptied of essential supplies. In Dallas, temperatures plunge to 21 to 6 degrees Celsius. January 24, 2026, the storm escalates in intensity, moving northeastward. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy warns that up to 240 million Americans could be impacted. Flight disruptions begin with over 400 flights canceled nationwide. More than 1 million people lose power, particularly in southern and midwestern states. Emergency declarations are initiated across several states. January 25 to 26, 2026, the storm continues to wreak havoc as the National Weather Service (NWS) issues warnings for astonishingly long swaths of snowfall, predicting life-threatening conditions. The storm is expected to persist into the following week, causing dangerous travel conditions and potentially prolonged blackouts. Key impacts. 1. Scope and severity. The storm's characteristics include heavy snow, ice accumulation, and extreme cold temperatures. Over 1 million customers are reported without power, and residents are warned to avoid travel due to hazardous conditions. The NWS emphasizes the importance of taking the storm seriously, given the potential for extensive damage and danger. 2. Emergency preparedness. In response to the storm, many states have opened warming centers and emergency shelters for vulnerable populations. Local authorities, including the mayor of Houston, advise residents to remain indoors and prepare for extended periods of inclement weather. 3. Polar vortex influence. The severe conditions are attributed to a stretched polar vortex, which is pushing cold air further south than usual. Despite seeming contradictory to global warming, this phenomenon has been linked to climate change, suggesting an increase in the frequency of severe winter weather events. For regional variations, while the central and eastern U.S. are heavily impacted, Florida initially experiences milder temperatures before a cold front is expected to reach the state early in the following week. Tampa Bay anticipates temperatures dropping into the 50s, with the possibility of freezing conditions later in the week. Emergency responses and local reports. Flight cancellations and transportation disruptions. The storm has led to significant chaos in travel, with more than 10,000 flights canceled across the United States. Airports including Dallas and Atlanta are particularly hard hit, with travelers facing long delays and uncertainty about rescheduled flights. Power outages. The storm has resulted in widespread power outages affecting over 1 million customers. Utility companies are working tirelessly to restore power, but the icy conditions are complicating repair efforts. Areas with heavy ice accumulation are witnessing extensive tree damage and downed power lines. Public safety warnings. Authorities have issued stern warnings about the dangers posed by the storm. New York Governor Kathy Hochul has cautioned residents about the life-threatening cold, urging them to stay indoors as exposure to the elements for just a few minutes could lead to serious health risks. Community support initiatives. Several states have mobilized to provide support for those affected by the storm. Warming centers have been established in various counties, and transportation services are being offered for individuals seeking shelter. Different perspectives from media sources. Local focus. Some sources highlight the immediate impacts in specific regions, such as the expected cold temperatures in Florida, emphasizing the contrast between the severe conditions in the north and the milder weather in the south. Detailed data on flight disruptions. Other reports provide specific figures on flight cancellations and highlight the broader chaos within transportation systems, underscoring the storm's widespread effects. Emergency measures. Certain media outlets focus on the emergency declarations and the opening of warming centers, illustrating the coordinated response from local and state authorities to mitigate the storm's impact. Conclusion. The massive winter storm continues to pose significant challenges across the United States, with millions affected by severe weather, power outages, and transportation disruptions. As the storm evolves, emergency measures are being implemented in multiple states to ensure the safety and well-being of residents. The evolving situation illustrates the growing impact of extreme weather events and the importance of preparedness in the face of such natural disasters. As communities band together to face the storm, the coming days will reveal more about the storm's aftermath and the resilience of those affected. The massive winter storm currently impacting the United States is producing several counterintuitive phenomena, particularly regarding the interplay between severe winter weather and climate change. 1. Polar vortex dynamics. One of the most striking counterintuitive aspects of this winter storm is its connection to the polar vortex. Traditionally, a polar vortex is thought of as a stable cold area that contains frigid air within the Arctic region. However, this storm's severity arises from a stretched polar vortex, which allows cold air to escape and plunge southward into the United States. This phenomenon contradicts the common perception that global warming necessarily leads to warmer winters. Instead, it suggests that climate change may be linked to more extreme winter weather events, as the melting of Arctic ice can weaken and destabilize the polar vortex. 2. Global warming versus severe cold weather. The storm serves as a stark reminder of the complexity of climate systems. As temperatures drop significantly across much of the U.S., it raises questions about the narrative of global warming. Some may interpret this severe cold as evidence against climate change. However, scientists argue that increased atmospheric instability and erratic weather patterns, including severe winter storms, can be a consequence of a warming planet. This creates confusion among the public regarding the relationship between climate change and extreme weather events. 3. Impact on Florida. Interestingly, while other regions are experiencing severe winter weather, Florida, traditionally associated with warm and sunny conditions, is initially spared from the worst impacts of the storm. Instead, it sees mild temperatures until a cold front moves in, later leading to a sharp temperature drop. This regional variation in weather outcomes, where one area faces catastrophic winter conditions while another remains relatively unscathed, highlights the localized nature of weather phenomena, which can seem contradictory in the context of a nationwide storm. 4. Emergency preparedness and response. The emergency declarations across multiple states and the activation of warming centers are indicative of the increasing frequency and severity of such storms. These responses, while necessary, may also point to a growing recognition that the infrastructure and preparedness for severe winter weather need to evolve in response to changing climatic patterns. This shift in readiness can be seen as counterintuitive when considering the historical context of winter storms, where such extensive preparations were less common. 5. Power outages and infrastructure vulnerability. With over 1 million people reported without power due to ice accumulation and extreme cold, the situation showcases vulnerabilities in the U.S. power grid, particularly in regions less accustomed to severe winter weather. The notion that the power infrastructure can be so easily disrupted by winter weather, especially in states like Texas, which faced a catastrophic grid failure in a previous winter storm, contrasts with the assumption that technological advancements have sufficiently fortified these systems against natural disasters. 6. Travel disruptions. The storm has caused widespread flight cancellations and transportation chaos, impacting millions. The counterintuitive aspect here is that despite forecasts and historical data regarding winter storms, the scale of disruption continues to escalate. This suggests that as climate patterns shift, so too does the nature and predictability of severe weather events, creating challenges for travel and logistics that may not have been anticipated. 7. Public perception and political discourse. Finally, the political discourse surrounding climate change and extreme weather events becomes increasingly complex. Public figures may use severe winter storms as rhetorical tools to question the validity of climate change science, creating a dichotomy between lived experiences of extreme weather and scientific understanding. This dissonance illustrates a broader societal challenge in reconciling immediate weather impacts with long-term climate trends, further complicating public awareness and response to climate issues. In summary, the ongoing winter storm in the United States not only poses immediate dangers and challenges but also serves as a lens through which to examine the complex and often counterintuitive relationships between climate change and extreme weather events. The current winter storm affecting the United States is significant not only for its immediate impact but also for the broader implications it holds regarding climate change emergency preparedness and infrastructure resilience. While many reports cover the obvious aspects of the storm, such as flight cancellations, power outages, and emergency declarations, there are critical nuances and details that are often overlooked. Here, we will explore these aspects and their significance. Polar vortex dynamics. One major point that may not receive extensive attention is the connection between the current winter storm and the polar vortex. The polar vortex is a large area of low pressure and cold air surrounding the Earth's poles. When it is stable, cold air remains contained, but when it becomes stretched or disrupted, as it has in this case, it can lead to an influx of Arctic air into typically warmer regions. This phenomenon, while seemingly contradictory to the concept of global warming, highlights the complexity of climate systems. The implications of this stretched polar vortex are significant. It suggests that climate change may increase the frequency and intensity of such winter storms, as warmer temperatures in the Arctic can lead to more frequent disruptions. This is not just an academic concern, it has real-world implications for energy demand, emergency services, and public health. Understanding this connection can inform better emergency preparedness and infrastructure planning in the future. Emergency preparedness and response. While the report mentions that many states are opening warming centers and shelters for vulnerable populations, the significance of this action warrants deeper examination. Emergency preparedness is a multifaceted issue that includes not only immediate response but also long-term resilience planning. The opening of shelters is a critical step in protecting vulnerable populations, including the homeless, the elderly, and those with medical conditions. However, the infrastructure to support such emergencies can often be lacking. Reports of insufficient resources in shelters, difficulties in mobilizing emergency services, and the challenges posed by widespread power outages highlight systemic issues in emergency management. As climate events become more severe and frequent, the need for robust emergency management systems that can adapt to and mitigate these impacts will become increasingly essential. Transportation and economic impact. The storm has led to over 3,400 flight cancellations and significant transportation disruptions across the country. While the immediate focus is on the chaos at airports and the inconvenience to travelers, the broader economic implications are critical. Transportation disruptions can have cascading effects on supply chains, local economies, and even national markets. The economic impact of such storms is often underestimated. Delayed shipments can lead to shortages of essential goods, and prolonged power outages can disrupt businesses, particularly small local enterprises that may not have the resources to weather such disruptions. A comprehensive analysis of the economic ramifications of weather events like this storm can inform better investment in infrastructure and emergency response systems. Vulnerable populations and health risks. Another important aspect that may be overlooked is the specific impact of the storm on vulnerable populations. Reports often mention the need for warming centers, but the health risks associated with extreme cold weather are considerable and multifaceted. Vulnerable populations, including the elderly, the homeless, and individuals with chronic health conditions, face a higher risk of complications from exposure to extreme temperatures. Moreover, power outages can lead to the loss of heating in homes, creating dangerous living conditions. The potential for increased cases of frostbite, hypothermia, and other cold-related illnesses underscores the need for targeted public health initiatives during such weather events. Addressing these needs requires a coordinated approach that encompasses healthcare providers, emergency services, and community organizations. Climate change awareness and public perception. Lastly, the storm serves as a critical point of discussion regarding public perception of climate change. The juxtaposition of extreme cold weather with the notion of global warming can create confusion and skepticism among the public. Statements from political figures questioning the validity of climate science during winter storms can undermine the public's understanding of climate change complexities. It's crucial to communicate that climate change does not negate the occurrence of cold weather events, rather, it can exacerbate their severity and frequency. Effective communication strategies that educate the public on the nuances of climate science can foster a better understanding of the issues at hand and encourage proactive measures for climate adaptation and mitigation. Conclusion. In conclusion, while the immediate impacts of the winter storm are evident: power outages, flight cancellations, and emergency declarations, there are deeper issues that warrant attention. The relationship between the storm and the polar vortex illustrates the complexities of climate change, while the challenges in emergency preparedness highlight systemic vulnerabilities. Additionally, the economic implications and health risks for vulnerable populations further underscore the need for comprehensive planning and response strategies. Lastly, addressing public perception of climate change in the context of extreme weather events is essential for fostering informed discussions and proactive measures moving forward. By recognizing and addressing these often overlooked aspects, society can better prepare for and mitigate the impacts of future winter storms and other climate-related events. 1. Scope and severity of the storm. The winter storm currently impacting the United States is unprecedented, affecting nearly 200 million Americans across at least 16 states. The storm has been described as catastrophic, with heavy snowfall, freezing rain, and dangerously low temperatures resulting in widespread power outages and significant disruptions to transportation, including the cancellation of over 3,400 flights. This event highlights not only the immediate threats to safety and infrastructure but also the long-term implications of increasingly severe weather events which may be exacerbated by climate change. 2. Emergency preparedness and response. In light of the storm's severity, emergency preparedness has become critical. Various states have declared emergencies and opened warming centers and shelters to assist those in need, particularly vulnerable populations. This coordinated response reflects the importance of preparedness in mitigating the impact of extreme weather events. Local authorities have advised residents to stay indoors, emphasizing the need for community resilience and the provision of resources to ensure safety during such crises. 3. Influence of climate change and polar vortex dynamics. The storm's intensity has been linked to a stretched polar vortex which allows cold air to penetrate further south than usual. This phenomenon raises important discussions about the relationship between climate change and extreme weather, as it suggests that a warming planet can lead to increased variability in weather patterns. Understanding this connection is crucial for developing effective strategies for adaptation and mitigation in the face of changing climatic conditions. For regional variations and impact on infrastructure, the storm's effects vary significantly across regions, with some areas facing immediate and severe impacts while others, like Florida, initially remain relatively warm. However, as the cold front approaches, even these regions will experience drastic temperature drops. This highlights the need for localized responses to weather events as well as the importance of infrastructure resilience in dealing with such fluctuations. The potential for hazardous conditions and power outages underscores the need for ongoing investment in resilient infrastructure and emergency preparedness plans across the country. Here are 3 famous historical cases of massive winter storms and their impacts on the United States similar to the current winter storm scenario. 1. The Great Blizzard of 1888. The Great Blizzard of 1888, also known as the Great White Hurricane, occurred from March 11 to March 14, 1888, and is considered one of the most powerful blizzards in American history. The storm affected the eastern United States, particularly the Northeast, where it dumped between 40 to 50 inches 1 to 1.3 meters of snow in some areas. The storm's high winds created snowdrifts that reached up to 50 feet 15 meters in height, paralyzing cities like New York and Boston. The blizzard struck without much warning, catching many people off guard. Public transportation ground to a halt and over 400 people lost their lives due to exposure accidents and the inability to travel for medical assistance. The storm led to significant changes in weather forecasting and emergency preparedness, prompting the establishment of the U.S. Weather Bureau. The Great Blizzard of 1888 remains a stark reminder of the dangers posed by severe winter weather. 2. The North American Blizzard of 1978. The North American Blizzard of 1978, occurring from February 6 to February 8, was another significant winter storm that impacted the Midwest and the Northeast. The storm produced record snowfall in many areas, particularly in the states of Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan, where some locations received over 30 inches 76 centimeters of snow. Wind gusts reached up to 70 miles per hour 113 kilometers per hour, creating whiteout conditions that made travel nearly impossible. The storm resulted in widespread power outages, paralyzed transportation systems, and severe disruptions to daily life. More than 200 people died due to the storm, with many fatalities resulting from traffic accidents and exposure. The blizzard resulted in significant economic losses, prompting officials to rethink winter preparedness and response strategies. It also led to improvements in snow removal and emergency management practices across the affected regions. 3. The winter storm of 1993, the storm of the century. The winter storm of 1993, often referred to as the storm of the century, took place from March 12 to March 15, 1993, impacting a large swath of the eastern United States. This storm produced heavy snow, ice, and severe thunderstorms, affecting areas from the Gulf Coast to Canada. Snowfall totals exceeded 20 inches 51 centimeters in many regions, with some areas receiving as much as 40 inches 102 centimeters. The storm caused extensive travel disruptions, with over 10,000 flights canceled and major highways closed. The blizzard conditions led to widespread power outages, affecting millions of people. In total, the storm resulted in over 300 deaths and caused an estimated $6 billion in damages. The severity and wide-reaching impact of the storm underscored the need for improved forecasting and emergency response systems, leading to advancements in meteorological technology and public safety measures. These historical events reflect the challenges posed by severe winter storms and the societal impacts that can arise, echoing the current situation in the United States as it faces a massive winter storm in January 2026. Future outlook. Predictions for the United States amidst severe winter storms. As the United States grapples with severe winter storms, such as the massive storm currently affecting nearly 200 million people, it prompts critical reflection on the future of weather patterns, emergency management, and societal adaptation. The ongoing challenges presented by these storms will likely shape the landscape of American life in the coming years. 1. Increase in storm frequency and intensity. Climate change is expected to lead to more frequent and intense winter storms. The current storm, attributed in part to a stretched polar vortex, exemplifies how climate dynamics can result in severe winter weather even as global temperatures rise. According to climate models, this trend is likely to continue, resulting in unpredictable weather patterns that could disrupt normal seasonal expectations. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration (NOAA) suggests that with the increasing variability of the polar vortex, extreme winter weather events may become the norm rather than the exception. 2. Infrastructure resilience and adaptation. In response to the challenges posed by severe winter weather, there will be a pressing need for improved infrastructure resilience. Communities will increasingly invest in upgrading power grids, roadways, and emergency response systems to better withstand the impacts of heavy snowfall, ice accumulation, and severe cold. The experiences of states like Texas, which faced a catastrophic power grid failure in a previous winter storm, will drive a national conversation about energy security and infrastructure investment. 3. Enhanced emergency preparedness and response. The current storm response, which has included emergency declarations across multiple states, highlights the importance of coordinated emergency management. Future storms will necessitate more robust preparedness plans, including the establishment of more warming centers and emergency shelters. Federal, state, and local governments will likely enhance collaboration with nonprofit organizations and private sectors to ensure that vulnerable populations are adequately supported during severe weather events. 4. Public awareness and community engagement. As severe winter storms become more common, public awareness campaigns will play a crucial role in community preparedness. Governments and organizations will likely increase efforts to educate the public about emergency protocols, safety measures, and the importance of being prepared for potential power outages and transportation disruptions. Social media and mobile apps will become vital tools in disseminating real-time information and updates during extreme weather events. 5. Economic implications and insurance adjustments. The economic impact of severe winter storms is significant, affecting everything from local businesses to the insurance industry. As weather patterns become more unpredictable, insurance companies may re-evaluate risk assessments, leading to higher premiums for properties in areas prone to severe winter weather. Additionally, businesses will need to adapt their operations to account for potential disruptions, which may include investing in contingency plans or developing remote work capabilities. 6. Technological innovations in weather forecasting. Advancements in meteorological technology will continue to improve the accuracy of weather predictions. Enhanced satellite imagery, AI-driven forecasting models, and better data collection methods will enable meteorologists to provide earlier and more precise warnings about severe winter storms. As forecasting becomes more reliable, communities can take proactive measures to mitigate the impact of these storms. 7. Long-term climate policy changes. The increasing severity of winter storms will likely accelerate discussions around climate policy and sustainability. Policymakers may prioritize legislation aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions, promoting renewable energy sources, and investing in climate resilience initiatives. The connection between climate change and extreme weather events will be a focal point in political discourse, influencing both local and national policy agendas. 8. Migration trends and population shifts. As regions become more susceptible to extreme weather, there may be shifts in population demographics. Areas frequently impacted by severe winter storms may see outmigration as residents seek more stable climates. Conversely, regions that historically experienced milder winters may become more attractive, potentially leading to increased urbanization in those areas. This demographic shift could have profound implications for local economies and infrastructure planning. 9. Impact on mental health and community well-being. The psychological toll of enduring severe winter storms and the associated disruptions can lead to increased mental health challenges within affected communities. Future responses will need to consider the mental well-being of residents, providing resources and support for those impacted by isolation anxiety and the stress of adapting to ongoing extreme weather conditions. Conclusion. The massive winter storm currently affecting the United States serves as a stark reminder of the challenges posed by climate change and extreme weather events. As we look to the future, it is clear that adaptation, resilience, and proactive measures will be essential in navigating the evolving landscape of winter storms. By investing in infrastructure, enhancing emergency preparedness, and fostering community engagement, the United States can better equip itself to face the challenges of a changing climate.